No, this is 100% another bullet point in the discussion of what is it about fandom that has changed in the past 5 to 10 years. And I feel like you can't even say that this bullet point in particular is one that is entirely attached to the influx of readers that fanfiction and fandom received post-lockdown / during lockdown. I feel like this was something that our society was kind of always aimed at in the long run, because as we know, history is bound to repeat itself and things are cyclical. And I think a lot of people in fandom would probably agree that we all saw a rise in puritanical ideology and conservative thinking and a return to form when it comes to looking to censor, aka the censorship discussion. And that is because we are seeing a giant rise in specifically very young readers who have been lectured to enough times on the internet about what their beliefs and values and morals mean to them, that they have conflated fiction with reality. So they believe that whatever they intake fictionally fully represents who they are as a person and what they fully believe. Because constantly, especially in fandom circles and especially over on Twitter, I have seen the argument so many times of people saying, actually, there have been studies and psychologists have said that it is impossible to entirely separate fiction from reality, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. First of all, none of them ever supply a source. And then second of all, that is not true. And I'm not going to sit here and also say, well, here are my sources, blah, blah, blah. I really will just unfortunately have to say I'm speaking from personal experience here. But to, in so many ways, infantilize, delegitimize, and diminish the intelligence of all people by claiming no one ever has the capacity to be able to separate fiction from reality is insane. Why would you want that to be true? I'm genuinely asking. Just because you can't watch something without feeling uncomfortable, which goes back to another video that I made about this topic, forced to confront yourself about something, or made to think about something that you hadn't thought about before, doesn't mean that the author or anybody else intaking that same piece of fiction doesn't know how to do that already. Learning how to process and separate and compartmentalize things in your brain so that you don't conflate them with reality is your doing. That is something you have to do. It is a skill you have to learn. So by you going on the internet and saying, oh, you actually can't separate fiction from reality, you're telling on yourself there, bud. Because I, myself, can go read 5,000 words of something that has the craziest tags you've ever heard of, and most people might not even touch, and it was one of the most wild things I've ever read. The next day, I'm fine, because I recognize that wasn't real what I read. And this isn't to say that obviously there shouldn't be trigger warnings or content warnings on things. Absolutely. Nobody should have to read something that they absolutely do not want to read. Everybody has triggers. Everybody has squicks. I have squicks. I don't get triggered easily, but I do have things that I'm just kind of like, I don't really want to read that. Those things should still exist. But that doesn't mean that you then get to make it everybody else's problem when you consume media that made you uncomfortable, or that you didn't like, or that you don't know how to regulate within yourself. You as a consumer, specifically of media, and this goes for media you pay for or media specifically you get for free, aka fan fiction, it is your responsibility to learn and to manage how to consume those things without claiming that whoever made that thing must be horrible, awful, disgusting, a degenerate, a menace to society, what have you. Just because somebody writes about a rough theme, a theme that you didn't want to read, doesn't mean that they themselves are advocating for that theme. I don't know why we have to have this conversation constantly. And I don't know how else to put this to you other than, once again, it's a skill. A skill you need to develop, a skill you need to flex, because it's kind of like a muscle. Anyway,